Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Hanging Left. My name is Matt Connarton, and of course, Todd Ayer, my partner in crime in this venture, joining us. Hello, Todd.
Hey, how you doing today, Matt?
Good, good. Do we need to come up with some kind of a thing? I think you had suggested initially when we were talking about the name of the show, should I ask you, like, hey, Todd, how's it hanging? And then you
You
say
could,
hanging left.
I mean, I'd be open to that.
Should
Sure.
we do that in the future? Maybe
Yeah,
next
we
episode we'll
could
do that.
consider something like that.
I was just thinking about that. We'll do it. Let's practice it right now, live in front of everyone. You ready? Okay, here we go.
Okay, sure.
Hey, Todd, how's it hanging?
Hanging to the left, as always, my friend. Only way
yes.
to hang.
And then you ask me,
Matt, how you hanging? How's it hanging for you today?
That's hanging left.
All right. Only way to go, my friend. Only way to go.
I think that's pretty smooth. I think we should do that in the future.
Okay.
We've
got to get smoother than that, though. I feel like that was a little choppy.
For those of you who are watching the live stream, we are doing this live. We're streaming this on, oh my God, it's June 1st. First day of June.
It is.
The first day of, let's see if I can say it. The first day of, how do they say it? It's the first day of summer, but if you're the first day of meteorological summer, I said it. Meteorological.
Meteorological. But you know what? Also, it's the first day of. It's the first day of Pride Month.
Yes,
Pride Month.
I see the shirt. By the way, Todd, I do have to tell you, as a straight, white, cisgendered male, I do feel very threatened by that.
You do?
No, I'm kidding.
No. It's always our agenda. That's the first thing when it says, like, what do we want to do on Pride? It's scare straight people. Didn't you know that?
I thought it was to turn straight people gay. I thought that.
Well, I
thought the idea here was to turn me gay.
Right. It's actually to deport you all, to follow the MAGA rules. We're trying to deport as many straight men as possible.
I think the whole point of this show is the reason you came up with this is you want to turn me gay and then deport me. And as a straight, white, cisgender, patriotic male, I feel very
well, one or the other. We'll give you a choice.
Yes.
You'll either become reconditioned into a gay man or we're going to deport you. Yeah.
If I had children, you would want to turn me gay, deport me, and make my children trans, correct? That's
absolutely.
The whole point of Pride.
Right.
Yes.
Through school nurses. We're going to use school nurses only, though. They're very skilled in this.
Yes. No, but in all seriousness, I've always considered myself an LGBTQ plus ally, and I absolutely support Pride Month. And I can tell you, so the one thing I was serious about, I am a straight, white, cisgendered male. But
sorry, boys.
What's that?
Sorry, boys. He's taken.
Well, gay men do like me very much, but my friend, Dr. Kevin, who's gay, he asked me once, he said, Matt, you ever consider pitching an inning for the other team? I said, I'm sorry, Dr. Kevin, I can't do that. But I hope he doesn't mind that no, he won't mind. He's very cool.
Yeah.
No, I've known Dr. Kevin forever. He's a lot of fun, but no, but I've always considered myself an ally. And the way I've always looked at it from my perspective is because sometimes people will say, well, Matt, why do you care? I mean, this isn't an issue that affects you. And I've always said, well, what does affect me in a broader sense is I want to live in a country where everyone feels accepted and everyone has the same rights and no one feels bullied or excluded or anything like that. Everyone should be able to be free to be who they are without being threatened or discriminated against or anything. And that's important to me as an American, regardless of how I am or who I am. I want everyone to have those same rights and to be treated fairly. And that's important to me. So that's why it matters. That's one of the reasons it matters to me.
And I definitely appreciate that. And Matt, I don't know if you intended to do this, but you really segued very nicely into our topic. And that is today we're going to sort of do a critique or / analysis and certainly an editorial because we tell it like we see it. Of Trump's first 100 days.
Yes.
And, I like to call Trump's first 100 days the carpet bombing of American democracy.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I see it. I think that one of the things he sought out to do, he did achieve, and that was to sort of remake, at least temporarily, the American experiment and remake and destabilize democracy. He hasn't dismantled it, but he certainly has destabilized it. And the good news is I'm seeing a lot of pushback and a lot of fight. It's unfortunate that we had to get to the point where it truly was on the line, that everybody decided, wow, this is real. But it's happened, and it's continuing to happen, and it's picking up momentum. But before we get into any of that, why don't we kind of do a quick, summary of all of the beautiful things, as he would say, that he's attempted to do to our country.
I think that's a good idea. It'll give us a chance to kind of offer our thoughts on each item, of which there are many. And also there might be some things on this list that a lot of people are not aware of. Everyone has their own sort of level of engagement in terms of which they're able to pay attention. I always say which they're able to pay attention, because I think sometimes people are criticized for not paying attention at all. I just lost Todd. Sometimes people are I'll just finish this point and then I'm sure he'll be back in the room. Sometimes people are criticized for not paying attention at all, being completely oblivious and disengaged from politics. And I always say, well, we do live in a country where, some people are in a position where they just don't have time. Todd came back and then disappeared again. I'm not sure what happened. Some people are in a situation where they just don't have time. If you're, say you're a single parent and you're working 2 jobs, and maybe you're also taking classes to try to further your education to get a better job and make more money, and you've just got your hands full. Some people are just too distracted and too overwhelmed to really be fully engaged and to pay attention. So, but for people who do not know, who either do not pay attention, have not, if you're watching this show or listening to this show, I assume that you're interested and that you're paying attention to some degree or to some level, but not everyone has time to pay attention to every little thing. I'm sure there are things on this list that Todd has that I don't even know about. And I think I pay more attention than your average voter, your average American does. Welcome back, Todd. You kind of left.
Yeah, I was going to say one technical thing there. Sorry, I kind of missed some of the things that you said. What were you basically saying? You were kind of going over.
Oh, I was just saying that, some people who are hearing us or watching us might not know about some of the things on this list. And I like to think that I pay more attention to these things than the average American does. And yet I'm sure that there are things on here that I don't even know about. So this will be very interesting and informative, I think.
I'm sure touche on that one, Matt. I'm sure you've probably, because we all have our focus areas, you know what I mean? And we all have the things that we are, quote unquote, experts on or we take a personal interest in.
Yes.
And to be honest, why I chose the term carpet bombing of America is that he literally just scattered it. He attacked everything all at once. And I think, he didn't do it with laser precision, and he pretty much is just trying to see which bombs explode and how much damage which bombs do in every facet of American society, really.
And also really testing, I think, the limits of what bombs he can drop in terms of executive orders.
Right.
And
right.
really, and this unprecedented show of executive power that we've never seen, more executive orders than any other president in history.
Right.
Typically, a lot of Americans object to executive orders and object to such abuse of executive power, although people tend to be pretty partisan with it. Usually Republicans get mad when a Democrat does it, but when their own president does it, they don't have a problem with it. And to be fair, the inverse does work as well. Democrats get mad when a Republican president does it, but they don't have much to say when a Democratic president does it. So, but we've never seen anything like this.
No. Well, so that's his bomb of choice. We do at least know that. We know his weapon of choice is the executive order.
Yes.
So, hey, at least in a way, in forming our defense program here, we can figure out the best deterrent to the executive order.
We should mention too, he's also tested the limits of, we do have the separation of powers here in this country, the 3 branches of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. And this will come up in the list, obviously, but there's been at least a couple of instances where he has simply chosen to, in this case, the executive branch chosen to ignore the judicial branch, where the judicial branch has said, no, you can't do this. And the executive branch has said, screw you, we're doing it anyway. For example, refusing to bring back Abrego Garcia. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but
I think you're saying it right. Yeah.
But I'm sure that's on the list. So, but
I kind of did more of a wider brushstroke, if you will. I didn't get into the details, and you can certainly, maybe that's something you could obviously add to the conversation.
That makes sense, though, because if we got too into the details, this would be probably a 6-hour show.
Oh yeah, right.
There's a lot,
right.
A lot of meat on the bone. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We would be broadcasting on C-SPAN, my friend. We would just go on and on and on, and yes. I would like turn pages on air and
yeah, exactly.
I don't think people want to see that. I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, I'm guessing C-SPAN is probably not one of the top 10 watched, networks in the world, but maybe not.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Right. Probably not. I think we're safe there. So, I think the first thing, that I want to address in the beginning of that shock and awe happened day one. He chose to liberate the, the Jan 6 hostages, as he calls them, and including the ones that caused, physical and emotional harm to our police officers and other members of law enforcement and government officials, and pardon literally all of them, and take them out of their incarceration and just let them run amok. Yeah.
It's I'm not surprised that he did that. He said he was going to do it. He's doing what he said he was going to do. And obviously if you're MAGA, you support the, I think most MAGA people see the Jan 6 people as patriots. Personally, I see them as domestic terrorists.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some people who would fundamentally agree think that's a little bit strong. I don't. I think they're domestic terrorists. And I mean,
isn't that the definition of terrorism? Acts of violence and intimidation in order to achieve political gains?
Oh, yeah. I remember after Jan 6 happened, when we were still doing politics on my radio show, I noticed, too, that if I were speaking, I would speak with these callers who were very, very pro-police. But if you mention Officer Sicknick, for example, from January 6th, the attitude immediately changes, and it goes from, the police, we love the police, to, oh yeah, that guy, and it's easy to figure out what it is. It's because MAGA sees the January 6th police as traitors. I'm saying the quiet part out loud here, but this is what it really is, right? They support the police generally, but they see the Capitol Police as traitors, because they think in the perfect MAGA world, the Capitol Police would have taken off their badges and helped these domestic terrorists overthrow the government that day, and they didn't do that.
Well, right. Actually, what the Capitol Police, I think, probably should have done, according to MAGA, is maybe there wouldn't even been need of a riot, because they would have gone in and locked up Nancy Pelosi and all those people,
right,
in their riot gear, full riot gear, and just dragged them into the streets in chains. And then, for all we know, maybe publicly executed them. Who knows? These are not rational people.
that would be the MAGA fantasy. Absolutely.
So, storming the Bastille is probably how they saw the Capitol. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. They saw it as an act of pay. Well, some of them at the time didn't, but they changed their minds, herd mentality. They all fall in line.
It's also a mob mentality, I think, at the end of the day. Some of these people, I think we keep on saying they thought. I don't even know if all of them thought. I think some of them literally are just so emotional and at this point brainwashed that, they're trying to save this, I would call it anti-idealistic America, where, white, extreme Christianity rules. And these guys are the MAGA crusaders, and they are trying to, cleanse America and make America great again, as they would say, and make it in the what they deem is what is great. And in the process, pretty much remove almost anything and everything that, ironically, the Constitution wanted protected.
Yeah, I know, but they don't get it.
No, that's a nice way to put it. They don't get it.
So
So
so that was
kind of
day
going,
one, right? That was day one that
yeah,
he did that.
that was day one. Welcome
Yeah.
to the Trump second administration.
Yep.
Or as I like to call it, the Trump regime, because I don't like to acknowledge him as a legitimate leader. I see him more as someone that kind of hijacked. I see him himself, honestly, in many ways, as a very much the I call him the MAGA mob. I also see him as a wannabe dictator, although I don't think he has the level of articulation and intelligence that it takes to be an effective dictator. But I think he wants to be one. And kind of, Matt, to go on what you were saying about the abuse of police power, boy, we've really seen that when it comes to the ICE crackdowns on immigrants. You know, I haven't seen this level of police force and in some ways paramilitary police force since the post 9/11, when they got the cities all, you know, very much fortified and all of that. And even then, these men were very, I mean, even though these guys were carrying M60s and, you know, whatever, you really did feel safe. And that was the point. They were there to protect us. But I'll tell you, with these guys on the street right now, I feel anything but safe.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing anything like this in my lifetime. Absolutely not. No.
It's certainly not what, you know, it's certainly not the whole separation of the military and never putting the military up against the people. Although I guess technically ICE is not military, but again, paramilitary, and they're certainly using militaristic tactics.
Yeah.
Almost though, like I don't know, it's a combination of militaristic tactics with thug tactics. I mean, you know, pulling people out of their cars through smashed windows and refusing to identify themselves and wearing riot masks and all of this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is just chaos.
Yeah, it's disturbing. It's not the America that I grew up in.
It isn't. And I don't think it's the America we want. I mean, honestly, Republican, Democrat, Independent, unless you're that small 20% that really has just chose to you know, bathe in the MAGA Kool-Aid, this is not the America you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think most MAGA people want this, as long as
I know, but I'm saying other than MAGA.
Oh, other than MAGA, yeah, of course, yeah.
Americans don't want this. America's, I would say MAGAs aren't Americans. I would say, I don't know what they want, but you know, this is not America.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, it's not the country I grew up in.
No, it's not the country I want to stay living in either. I feel like we got to change things and change it quickly. Yeah. So getting on to all of this thing too, I think the other thing he is doing as far as like abuse of, you know, legal powers and things of that nature is his attempts to weaponize the judicial system and attack his political opponents, attack really anyone that chooses to question him. And, you know, in some cases try to, I don't know if he's gone so far as to try to incarcerate them. He's certainly launched, you know, libel attacks and, you know, reputational attacks, as well as tried to control them financially by going after big law and canceling their contracts if they don't basically either legislate the way he wants them to legislate, or even if they happen to have people on their staff that were doing their job as attorneys and doing, you know, everybody has the right to due process, but not in Trump's America, evidently. Evidently, you have due process as long as your process is in his direction.
Yeah. And again, I don't recall ever seeing anything on this level ever. And you know, and he has a Republican Party that's, I mean, you know, there's no one to push back. You know, Congress falls in line, everybody falls in line.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most do nothing Republican Party, if they even have a party anymore, that I've ever seen in my life. And to be quite honest, the days of, and I'm not a huge fan of Reagan or Bush, but honestly, Reagan certainly is turning over in his grave, and Bush, there's a reason why Bush has not come out and been a pro. As a matter of fact, most of the things he said have not been very pro-Trump. I mean, I find it very much challenging, but we'll get to that. I think that's another episode. But just in general, I guess I will say briefly, I, if I were a Republican, honestly, I'd be more embarrassed than myself as a progressive feel, because to me, it's like, that's their party. And so I don't know about you, but if like a progressive were behaving this way, I'd be one of the first people to be like, get this person out of office. They're damaging the brand. They're hurting my name. They're making a mockery of what I stand for. Mm-hmm. So why the Republican Party isn't doing more of this, I can't fathom.
Yeah, there's just, it's cowardice. It's, yeah, they all fall in line. I mean, because if you step out of line, I mean, this is how asinine and juvenile it's become. And it's been this way for years. It started with the first administration. The second you step out of line, Trump assigns you an insulting nickname, and your political career is over.
But that's
not even hyperbole what I just said.
Right,
that's
right,
literally how it works. It's
true.
Unreal. Yeah.
But how mature are these people that a political nickname by a man that clearly is a madman maniac and wants to be a king is enough to damage you? I mean, power really is only as effective as the perception of that power. And
right.
So a lot of this power, they're seceding to them by choice. They're choosing to give up. It's ridiculous. This man does not have to have this level of power.
No, but it would take a large swath of Republicans to want to stand up to him all at once, and they just won't.
Yeah, we'll explore that. I guess the lame duck Congress will be another topic, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that's certainly one of the things. And then getting on the whole idea of, I mean, why not basically go after the Bill of Rights, right? So, he's attacking the judicial system. And let's go on to education. So, of course, the first thing you do as a president is you suggest, let's dismantle the Department of Education, because they have no value. I mean, what would they do?
That's a Republican talking point anyway. I mean, Republicans have that's something that's been consistent. That's something.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's something that predates Trump. I mean, Republicans have always wanted to. I mean, I think it's gotten worse over the years, but it definitely predates Trump. This sort of anti-education. I mean, they just want, they hate public education. They hate private education that benefits from the government in any way. They hate Pell Grants. They hate all of it. They want everyone. They want everyone to be homeschooled and not learn about science. And there's a broader attitude against education, but Trump, of course, has ratcheted it up to a new level with his very direct attack on these private institutions.
I mean, is that true though? I mean, really, at one point, I feel like, to me, most Republicans I knew, really, if you really stripped it down, were like maybe a little bit more war hawks when it came to like diplomacy and military. And, maybe they were a little bit more conservative socially. But any of the Republicans, at least the ones that tended to gain power, seemed like they were willing to be open to compromise, and maybe they themselves ran conservative socially, but they didn't usually super enforce those types of things. And as the kind of world kind of moved in a more socially progressive direction, they were willing to maybe not practice it in their own lives, but certainly allow it to coexist. And so,
sure.
I appreciate what you said, but I think that's why I always separate MAGA versus Republican. I would argue that the real Republicans actually, it's not even really, to me, as I understand it, within their doctrine. But again, maybe this is, I apologize, this is going off topic. We can dissect the Republican Party on another episode. But yeah, I just wanted to mention the whole dismantling, and you said it proper, of the Department of Education. And then the other thing is going after higher ed, which, he's had some wins and he's had some misses for sure on that one. Do you want to go into that deeper, or?
Yeah, I mean, that is also something unprecedented. I don't remember anything like this happening before in my lifetime. And again, there's always, everything Trump does, there's nothing new about any of it in terms of his targets. It's just being willing to actually take action against them that is new, because again, Republicans, for as long as I can remember, have always complained about these higher education institutions because, they complain, they say that they indoctrinate, you'll hear, especially like boomers complain about, their children being indoctrinated into being liberals because they went to these quote unquote liberal institutions. And so now they come out more liberal. And of course, there's plenty of statistics that show that more educated people tend to be more liberal, less educated tend to be more conservative, and so forth. So again, the attitudes about higher education, I think, have always been there. But again,
I would agree to some extent. Yeah, I would agree to some
extent.
Although, I do think that for a long time, I mean, we really were moving in the direction where like the absolute non-bending people were starting to be seen as like maniacs. Like, people were, people had gotten, the general public, if we judge everything by the middle and we judge everything by the centrists, if that's primarily supposedly what most Americans are, although it doesn't seem like that right now, but if that's theoretically what we're supposed to be, then I would say that most centrists, it's really like, almost more of a NIMBY attitude, like not in my backyard or whatever. But at the end of the day, like they don't really tend to interfere with things that don't affect them directly. So like maybe a school like I went to, like American University, might be too left-leaning and radical for them to send their kids to, but it doesn't mean that they want to dismantle the colleges. They just kind of want to keep people like myself away from them. And it's more of like a separate but equal kind of mentality. And Trump has said what Trump, I think, really did was purposely open Pandora's box and take the most radical of the radical and basically weaponize those people and give these people that otherwise would have almost like been seen as the people sitting at the back of the bus talking to themselves about just delusional conspiracy theories, and give them power.
Yeah. Excuse me, my allergies are kicking up.
Oh, no worries. It's out there.
Oh, it sure is. But no, I think you're right. And
to be fair, because I know you and I have said in the past we're not party affiliated. Let's call it like it is. I mean, I don't know about you, but when the Democrats stood up and said they were going to fight for my rights, I'm talking about the conventional Democrats. And when the Democratic Party was clutching their pearls saying this was like going to become the death of democracy, then to me, the pace at which the Democratic Party is moving to combat this really is slow and far too minimal.
Oh, I agree with that. Well, I think they're slowed down by their own hand-wringing over how to do it, because right after the election, there was all this, so what do we do? Do we try to compromise in some ways? Do we fight them head on? Do we try to fight them the same way that we did during the first administration, or do we need some new a new approach, some new strategies? And there's so much, it becomes this analysis paralysis where
I love that.
Yeah.
Good phrase, analysis paralysis. Let's put a pin in that one. I like it.
Well, you hear it a lot in business, right? When you spend so much time trying to make a decision about something that you end up not making any decision at all. You end up not acting at all because you spend so much time trying to decide what the right decision is, and looking at the data and trying to figure that out, that you just end up not doing anything. And I think that's what the Democrats have fallen into to a large degree.
Yeah, that, and it's like they're hoping for the return to the good old days where Tip O'Neill and Ed Kennedy, and all of these other, well, not Tip O'Neill, Ed Kennedy, and I'm trying to think, I don't know, maybe like Jesse Helms, although that's probably extreme, but they could argue with each other, in-house.
Yeah.
And then go, to the Occidental Grill and lunch after the fact.
Well, there's those stories about Tip O'Neill and Reagan, how they.
That's what I meant. That's what. Yeah.
They would fight, but they would also have a drink later at the end of the day. Yeah.
Which I think honestly, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with this. It's like, that's why I kind of coined this term pragmatic progressive. I think in my heart, I'm very much a progressive, but I also understand that I share this country with all kinds of ideologies and political leanings and all of that. And so if I have to compromise in a sustainable way with others who share more conservative viewpoints, then I'm willing to do that again once this gets stabilized. But I'll tell you right now, compromise is the 4-letter word. I'm not really in the compromising mood.
Right.
Certainly not with MAGA. Show me a saint. I will gladly talk to someone that is working with all of their synapses firing any day of the week, regardless of whether even if you're a super conservative. At least we can have a conversation.
Right.
I might learn some things from you.
Right.
But I'm not going to talk to somebody that's like, I said last week, the world is round versus the world is flat dichotomy. I'm not interested in engaging in.
Yeah, exactly. No, same. And it's hard to compromise with people who are never going to compromise with you.
Yeah, that's the case too. I think the other thing is too, it's almost like these compromises, and this is where I think the Democratic Party, and what kind of scares me is you and I get this. Why don't they get this? They're supposed to be experts. Mm-hmm. But what he's done is basically set out these bear traps and said, oh, sure, yeah, we'll compromise. And these people, I feel like these traps aren't even baited. And yet these Democrats step right in the damn things, get their foots caught, and then are like, well, what do we do now? Do we ask them to release the trap, or do we just gnaw our own appendages off? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. It's frustrating.
Yeah. So, and then let's go to, I think the number one thing, which actually helped us out a lot being a progressive, and that is when Trump decided one of the best and the brightest people he could hire was a delusional, catamine shooting, drug abusing, richest billionaire in the world, our friend here, Elon Musk, and his pseudo department of Doge. There we go. Now that has Doge. I don't know about you, but I think that is the new 4-letter word, Doge.
Yeah. What frustrates what
right? D-O-G-E. Yeah, that's 4.
Oh yeah. What frustrates me about Doge is a lot of I see a lot on social media MAGA people saying that, well, Democrats, they complain about Doge. It's like they don't care. They don't care that Doge is finding all this waste, fraud, and abuse. Why don't they care about that? Why doesn't this matter to Democrats? And it's like, well, you're taking their word for it, though.
Yeah.
Where's the proof? Where's the evidence?
Well,
what have they actually shown us? They just believe Elon Musk and Trump when they say these things, and they don't question any of it.
I mean, that's usually because everyone knows that, sexually frustrated tech bros that have no knowledge of governmental procedure, understanding of the law, or, want to participate in general society outside of their screens, should make, decisions as to the hiring and firings of civil servants and career government officials who have bipartisanly served this country for decades. I mean, clearly that's what you should do. You should remove these people.
Yeah. It's
can you hear my sarcasm?
Absolutely. Hopefully with Elon's departure from the administration, that'll begin to be the beginning of the end of Doge, I hope. Yeah, let's dodge Doge. I mean, ridiculous. But I'm hoping, and this is now, and a lot of my friends feel this way too. I don't know how you feel, Matt. I am no longer just satisfied, and I guess I'm guilty of this. And in this way, I guess MAGA has made me a little bit of the monster. I'm no longer satisfied with just winning. I want some retribution and revenge. I mean, so, I am hoping that people don't take their foot off the gas when it comes to trashing the Tesla Corporation and Elon Musk and all of that. I mean, let's not let him off the hook. Yeah. Well, I don't know about some of the probably a subject for another show, but we'll explore that. I guess that'll be a whole issue. We could do a whole series on Doge and Elon Musk. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with, just for the record, that, trashing of the Teslas and all that. Some of that
Oh,
I think is, some of that I don't necessarily agree with, but
sure, sure. I
we
didn't.
we can dive into that on another.
Okay, well, I misspoke. I meant trashing the Tesla. I should have said the Tesla stock and all of that, and
Oh, okay. I'm
hurting him
sorry.
financially. No, no, no. I've not. For the record, I want everyone to know, and in case Big Brother's watching, I have never vandalized, nor do I plan on vandalizing a Tesla.
Yeah. Oh,
Or a
very good.
factory or whatever. I mean, because at the end of the day, the vast majority are people like you and I, just people that work for Tesla, are not involved in this chaos. And, they're just going to work. And so, and even the drivers, like the vast majority of these drivers, ironically, the vast majority of these drivers are on our side. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
so to hurt these poor people just because they're trying to get better gas mileage, I don't think that's really the answer. I mean, it doesn't.
No.
Plus, it doesn't work very well optically. I mean, we don't look so sympathetic.
Right. Exactly.
Usually, burning down buildings doesn't get you votes. I don't know.
Right. Agreed.
But anyway, I understand the anger and I understand the optics of it. And I'm not going to say that I haven't been guilty of celebrating the sort of like metaphor of like burning Tesla is like burning down the Musk empire. Of course I have, but it is all metaphoric. It's not something obviously that any of us would wish upon, as far as hurting individuals or just wantonly destroying property.
Right. I would point out too, you mentioned, the consequences, burning down, to be specific, the stock of, Tesla and so forth. It seems to me, people who get mad, people will get mad about that and say, well, why should Elon, Elon's trying to help us. Why should he have to suffer these consequences? But isn't that really, I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that just capitalism?
Well, right. And he champions it. And so does Trump.
Yes.
So actually, at least all of his, lockstep, troops there, or at least his senior leaders, should not have a problem with this.
Right.
It's interesting, you kind of go there too, because at some point I'd like to sort of get into, I just made a quick list of who I call, Trump's best hires.
Yeah.
It's really no wonder that we're in this place when we've got, people such as the likes of who we like to call KKK Caroline Claire Levitt as the press secretary, who, by the way, is threatened and or becomes argumentative when the media asks her questions. Very interesting, because I thought that as a press secretary, you're supposed to be asked questions, but evidently nobody else got that memo. So thanks, Caroline, for that. Then we've got now the Attorney General of the United States, who, it's pretty much been substantiated now. The newest thing is that she's an insider trader, our friend Pam Bondi. So she's another great one. Then we also have the drunk Nazi misogynist who has alt-right fascist tattoos on his body, who's running the Department of Defense, our friend there, Petey Hegseth. Then, of course, we have border czar Barbie, the Christine Nome. And if that's not good enough, she's also a puppy killer. So he really did staff this place with the biggest and the best. I mean, I can't imagine an administration with more skill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there's nothing shocking about any of this to me. I mean, this is exactly the kinds of people, but, and, he did have a narrower field of awful people to choose from, because, after the first administration, I mean, some of those people would not come back.
Well, no, would you?
I mean, asked,
because what's interesting, man, at the end of the day, this is really, truly political suicide, because as I've said, and I know, and I get caught up in it too, but like the Trump days will end. Trump will die, probably sooner than we think, or hopefully sooner than we think, but also just, he's getting old. I mean, let's face it, the guy is not young. And he is MAGA. I mean, he really is the momentum behind MAGA. So I don't know about you, but I don't think people are going to follow, crazy Cupid doll Vance into the stratosphere. I mean, he does not have the level of charisma, that cult leadership persona that Trump has.
I hope you're right. I'm worried that you're wrong. Not about the Vance part, because I agree, but the idea that when Trump dies, MAGA dies, I'm worried that you're wrong about that, because Donald Trump Jr. will probably run for president.
But
And he'll probably win if MAGA gets their way. I think MAGA will live on. I think what MAGA has done is
it will live on, but will it live on as a powerhouse? See, I don't think it will, but I will have to say this. In order for it not to live on, I think we're going to have to, instead of, all the things, I think, oh, sorry about that. I think a good thing for us, if I were in Congress right now, I would be picking up a copy of Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And this is how I would be addressing this situation. And I would come up with a battle plan to absolutely dismantle and remove MAGA from power.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly how I see it. Like, these people really, in my opinion, and this is where I go off a little bit radically, but, I think they're all treasonists. I think they all should be tried in a Hague form of court. And maybe we have to practice some muscular and a little bit more aggressive techniques to get rid of these people. I mean, I know that will upset some people, and maybe it's a little even anti-democratic, but I don't know. I mean, I think that once a democracy has been this badly damaged, it might be time to maybe establish a little bit of a force in place, just temporarily, to strengthen it and kind of create a stronger foundation. Just put some liens up to kind of protect us, put maybe some extra protectants in there, and then step away once we've done its job and return to normal. But I don't know if just like simply checks and balances and the way, business as usual has been, is going to work with taking down MAGA.
Well, but also just who's going to do it? I mean, the Democratic Party?
No. I think it's going to come from the activists. I think the activists, people like myself and other people that obviously have a much even more national reach. One I'm trying to build, but, certainly people that already have it. The AOCs of the world and some other people even that maybe we don't even know their names yet. I think it's going to be power to the people, but I think that it's going to take a real people power movement. But I think it can change. I think it has to change, because to me, it's either stagnation and the end of the nation, or it's progressive in the sense of progress, not progressive in the sense of like alt left. Just, we have to move forward. We have to put some common sense, sustainable things in place. And we cannot allow these people to win, because at the end of the day, it's one big hijack Ponzi scheme. And you've got, I don't even know, probably conservatively 10% of the population that's going to benefit from what is happening. And all the rest of us are just going to flounder, if not drown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I
so
don't
upbeat there, right? I was such an upbeat mode.
I don't. Yeah. And I don't mean to sound cynical or negative. I just, I mean, we let this guy get a second term after January 6th happened. I don't know. I guess, I don't mean to be, like I said, I don't mean to be negative. I'm just, it's like everything you just said, it sounds so good, but.
Well, but perception is reality. I mean, you just got to get in there and do it. Like, I don't know. Look, I'll tell you this. As a gay man, we've always had this very interesting fraternity, and people on the outside may not know it still exists, but it does. So I'll be quite honest with you. I've had offers to leave this country. I've had offers of friends of mine and acquaintances and exes of mine who have amassed a good percentage of financial wealth. And, I have friends in the same boat, and, my community will pick up and go if we have to. I mean, but I'm here because I want to be, and because I believe in the American experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the checks and balances, and I believe that even in, some good trouble, but also, some good dialogue and conversation and even disagreements, because that's what America's all about. And I think most Americans believe in that too. I have to believe in that, because if I don't believe in that, why am I here?
Right. Yeah, no, I well said. Well said. Well, so we get back to our list.
Sure. Sorry about that.
Before I descend and before I start
happens.
getting depressed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's pick up the beat here.
Okay.
I did want to let people know, as a little bit aside, I'm in the process of having a Trump voodoo doll created. So what we're going to do is we'll talk a little bit more about that when it happens. But some fun games I'm going to come up here with using that as a tool. So stay tuned. All right, go ahead, Matt.
No, that's exciting. I think
I know
it's going to make some people very mad, but that's okay.
I don't care.
I don't care either.
People have made me very mad. So
exactly.
And honestly, at the end of the day, isn't that the United States is about? Like, we have a right to insult each other. I mean, well, Trump said that. So honestly, Matt, I'm not the current Democratic leadership, so I have no problem insulting those that, really are, as Hillary would say, quite deplorable.
But the people who like to say one of their mottos is F your feelings, they get very sensitive.
Well, I don't. I mean, you can F my feelings all you want, but I'm going to just F you right back.
There you go. I like it. I'm with you.
All right, my friend. So, okay, back to the list.
Yes.
So what do you, what did you find? Because I think, oh my goodness, we almost skipped one of the most important, the tariffs. What did you find about that?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. The tariffs. And again, unprecedented, putting these tariffs into place. And by the way, this is the one thing where some Republicans, still very few, but some have questioned, is this really a good idea? But again, the MAGA faithful, though, they are so...
But there's a good news here. A lot of the MAGA faithful don't control the markets, because if you're talking about his brown shirt locksteps, like the ones that raided the Capitol, attacked the Capitol, they don't have the money to invest. So the good news is they're not going to be the ones controlling the markets. Oh, looks like we lost Matt here a little bit. So yeah, but he will be back shortly. But guys, I really hope you're having as much fun watching this show as I am producing it. And we try to add balance to the show. And yes, of course, it is called Hanging Left, so I am definitely and unapologetically leaning left. However, Matt and I have made a commitment to making sure that we do show both sides of the story. We're not going to shy away from being honest, but we are certainly going to stay away from just, being libelous or, outright hiding the truth. I mean, because the truth is so important. It's what sets us free, and also what sets us apart from those in the MAGA regime that are trying to keep us from the truth and take away our ability to discover knowledge and to acquire information and become more intelligent. One thing that when Matt gets back, I'm sure he would echo, is that one of the things we want to always do is be unapologetically truthful and honest with you guys. So I hope you see that and feel that when tuning into our show here. And it looks like Matt is back, so that's good news. Well, let me check here. I'm actually getting a message. Looks like we have a frozen screen here. So those of you that are live right now are going to certainly be subjected to this little diatribe I'm going off on. But that's back here. Oh, we're both back.
Hey, Todd.
Hey,
sorry about that. I don't know why that happened, but
I don't know.
Second week in a row. It's got to be something about Sundays, because I do a podcast on Saturdays too with somebody about another subject, and and we never have that issue, but that's the second Sunday in a row. But I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what's causing that so it doesnn't keep happening. But
it's the day of rest, so maybe it's the day of technology taking a rest too. I don't know, as they say, right?
Maybe. I do have a theory. I do have a pretty good theory.
What is that theory?
I think I've got too many things plugged into this computer.
Oh, I thought I was going to hear some really deep ideology. I didn't know it was simply technical like that.
No, I think it is that, because I have something plugged in that I don't usually have plugged in that I think is causing. Yeah, I'm going to unplug that thing. And if unplugging that means I don't freeze up again, then that'll be a pretty big clue that I just figured out the problem.
That is,
I think
excellent,
I figured
Matt.
it out, though.
So what you're telling the audience is this is not the MAGA regime trying to block our broadcast.
No. And what it also isn't is because we're not conservatives. See, if we were conservatives, we'd be funded by some big conservative conglomerate that gives us lots of money. So we'd both be sitting in $1 million studios right now.
Absolutely.
Because that's how that works for those who don't know.
Sure. Sure. The Koch brothers would be funding us, right? We'd flash, this episode brought to you by the Koch brothers.
Well, it really is true. That's why, and we can do a whole episode on this in the future, but some of these left-wing, some of these former left-wing podcasters and streamers who then end up going conservative, it's because they're funded. It's like an open secret. They're funded by Peter Thiel and people like that who effectively buy them up.
Yeah, but then again, you have no morality. Like, to me, you can make, and here's the thing, in a way though, that's a good thing, because that means that ultimately, my goal obviously is to monetize this and that we can make money off of being authentic, because if nobody else is doing that, then we'll be the new thing.
Yeah, and it can be done. There's people like Kyle Kalinske who, for example, is very successful, but he never even talks to advertisers. He's monetized on YouTube, and that's it. And he's extraordinarily successful doing that. So it can be done, but people like Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, all that. I mean, they've got gobs and gobs of money.
Well, of course, and a lot of them are broadcast journalists in their own right, and they've done this prior. But I mean, I do have friends that that are they're primarily writers, freelance writers for like The Atlantic and things of that nature. Peter's his first name. It's passing me the second one. It doesn't matter. But anyway, and they're a little bit further along than we are, but like they're kind of in the same boat. But what's great about them is they're not they could be moving faster if they were willing to sacrifice their standards in journalistic integrity and just even personal integrity. And, that's one thing. I didn't get into this. Again, I did not get into this to just, yes, of course, everybody wants to, make a good living. But at the end of the day, I will not do that by sacrificing my own morality and my own values. It's not, that's a non, what's the thing I want to say? Wow. Anyway, you get it.
Oh, I do.
Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. That's the word I wanted.
Oh, listen, if I wanted to go that route, like, in terms of the radio show, like I said, on Matt Connarton Unleashed about a year and a half ago, we took the politics out of it. But no, I had conversations with people who told me, if you at some point wanted to shift and start playing this game of, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I'm starting to see the light and I'm starting to understand MAGA,
right?
And then do that play that game that a lot of other people have played.
Okay.
Within 5 years, I'd probably have a very successful nationally syndicated conservative talk show.
Yes, but the interesting reason,
but I would hate myself.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I stepped on your words. I was going to say, I think, though, the interesting reason for that, at least if I achieve my goal, is because MAGA will go back into its caves and under its bridges, and they will only have time to sit around and listen to the conservative podcasters. So that's my goal. Like,
right.
But no, seriously, I don't know. again, I guess we'll talk about this another time, but let's shy away from giving up.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope I didn't. Earlier when I was being maybe a little extra cynical and negative, which is not my nature, but I hope I didn't sound like that's what I meant.
No, you're right, Matt. And you know what? Honestly, it's live, right? So like, you also chose to move mine in my direction to make sure people weren't saying that I was like, passing out propane tanks and burning down Teslas too. So like, it's
right.
good. We watch each other's backs. That's another thing, guys watching the show that you'll see is that, number one, Matt and I aren't always 100% going to agree. I think that makes it more interesting, but we will always support each other's rights to have an opinion. At the end of the day, have that brotherly love and support each other, because that's very important to do. So anyway, hope you guys practice that in your life as well. Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
Where were we when technology interrupted?
Where were we when the moon was landed on? No, I.
We were talking about tariffs.
Tariffs. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
How can we forget this? This is ridiculous. I mean, it's only the thing that everybody talks about, and yet we forget it.
Yeah. There's a little bit of Republican pushback on tariffs, but not enough. And
because I think the problem with that is that there's some insider trading going on with the tariffs.
Sure. Yeah.
So those of you that understand the market, people can basically be trading in options and betting on these companies to crash and make a crap ton of money doing it. So, that's the problem, is that like a slightly more finessed investment plan, and you can make money when the market's plummeting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, in fact, didn't Trump tell his buddies, "Hey, I'm going to roll back these tariffs"? And
that's the Pam Bondi deal. She was shorting her stocks in his, I believe it was one of his endeavors, one of his enterprises, when it was losing money.
Yeah, these people are shameless.
Yeah, definitely shameless. Good show though. Love that show on Showtime.
Oh, there's a show called Shameless.
Oh, you've never seen it? Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah. If only Trump was this guy, though. This guy is like borderline homeless drunk. So, he's not taking over the country anytime soon.
Oh, I know the show. Yeah. Okay, I know the show. I've never actually watched it, but now I know the show you mean when you describe the character, because I can even picture the actor.
Yeah.
I forget his name now.
But anyway.
Yeah.
This is definitely going off.
But yeah, so these obviously markets don't like instability. But again, it's like, Trump tells MAGA, hey, if we tip into a recession, that's okay. It'll be Biden's fault, not mine. And in the long term, it'll be good for the economy anyway.
Because a man that is like suffering from the beginnings of, just old age, mental acuity issues, which happens to anyone. And I'm not trying to announce, Biden's brain dead. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, the reality is, unfortunately, that he is, having that problem. And also now, faced with battling a fairly aggressive cancer, definitely has time to still try to legislate from his retirement home.
Well, there are Republicans who think that Barack Obama was secretly running the country during the Biden administration.
Oh, well, you did know there's also a coven under Barack Obama's mansion where they all get together. This is also where they supposedly eat children, but they...
Oh, yes. Well, they drink the blood and
right. Fine.
But then I guess
I was being more sustainable with the cannibalism, but I guess, they're just drinking blood.
Well, if you're a vegetarian, you're just going to drink the blood, which a lot of liberals are, right? Latte sipping vegetarians who only drink the blood of the children. Yes.
So it's the new vegetarian. You're allowed to drink blood. Okay. Got it.
Yes. Yes. Not if you're a vegan. If you're a vegan, you can't even drink the blood, but if you're a vegetarian, you can.
What about bone marrow? I feel like you could chew on some bone marrow. And anyway, we're definitely digressing here.
That is not allowed unless you are in need of a bone marrow transplant.
Okay. Well, MAGA, you heard it from us. If you're ever going to turn to our show, we're supporting this. We're supporting your conspiracy. No, joking. We do not support MAGA. Let me spell that out. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. So tariffs.
Yeah. So I don't know where we're going to end up with that. Trump. TACO, the new acronym. Trump always chickens out.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah. I love it.
because it's not bad enough for the markets and contributing to the instability of the markets, which the markets don't like instability, is not bad enough to announce these ridiculous tariffs, but then to announce them and then unannounce them and then re-announce them and say, well, I guess we'll do these tariffs, but not these tariffs. But, oh, wait, no, actually, we are going to do these tariffs. And
yeah, well,
madness.
It's all crazy.
Yeah.
It's all crazy.
I hope we survive it.
Yeah. And it's very interesting because I find it interesting. Just a bunch of lemmings jumping off cliffs as far as these MAGA people. Like, I don't understand. I don't know about you, but if I look at my, my stock portfolio, and one day it's performing at, 20% or so, 10%, something, conservatively 10%, on a good day, 15, 20%. And the next day it's down that same percentage. I don't think the current economic vehicles and drivers are working. Mm-hmm. So, I think that there's a good percentage of MAGAs that are definitely like upper middle class and even like, lower upper class, but like even within his like baseline MAGAs, there's some people there that even if they didn't necessarily go out and get themselves educated in college or whatever, they've done a good job at whatever business they've made and moved up the ladder and made themselves a good living. And, and they're business people. So I don't know why they don't apply their business aptitude and that level of just like common sense to the fact that this isn't working. I mean, it's like, I don't know about you, but I have yet to find that metaphoric unicorn. I don't believe, unicorns don't exist because I haven't found one. So if you can't see the unicorn, why do you believe it exists? And that's kind of what I feel like this whole thing with the tariff is. It's like, no, I know there's no such thing as this magical, it's magical thinking, really, is what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good way to say it. It really, how do you, if a glass, I get the whole glass empty, half full, but this glass has been like absolutely, it's bare bones. There's no liquid in it whatsoever. And they're still arguing it's full. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. I don't know.
Just don't get it. But anyway, I don't know. That could be one whole episode, the psyche of the MAGA. I don't know. We'll have to get a someone that specializes in deprogramming cults on the show and talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I know they get offended. Like I said, the F your feelings people, they're very sensitive. They get offended when you call it a cult, but there's so many, I mean, it is at the very least a cult of personality.
Sure.
And I've never seen such fealty to one person. I've never seen, I mean, look, during
I did. They called it the Nazi party.
Well, yeah. I'm right. But I've never seen, I mean, even Reagan,
right.
Republicans loved Reagan.
Yes.
But even that was nothing to the level of what we see with MAGA and Trump.
But here's the interesting thing about Reagan, right? Like, at least if you were pro-Reagan, your wallets were getting bigger. I mean, like, even people that didn't like Reagan's wallets were getting bigger. So, like, you had to say to yourself, it was a real, like, I think, moral dilemma there. Because, I mean, we all did well. Well, I don't know, but quite a few people, certainly if you're middle class or better, you did well under Reagan. You can't argue that. You did.
Yeah.
So, it definitely made us fatter wallets, but it diminished our morality was the problem. But anyway, that's here nor there.
Yeah.
Now we don't have either.
Yeah. And even Obama too. I mean, Saturday Night Live used to do a sketch. I don't know if you watch SNL.
I love it.
Okay. Do you remember the sketch a recurring sketch during the Obama administration? I think Kenan Thompson would play the host of this show, this public affairs show called How's He Doing? And it was Kenan Thompson, and he'd have two or three other, they were guests on the show who were Black. And the joke was, because it's Barack Obama, Kenan Thompson would, he'd bring up something that sounded like a negative story, and then he'd ask his guests, so how's he doing? And of course, they were all on board with whatever it was about Obama. The joke being because they were black, they were going to support Obama no matter what. So, and Obama did enjoy some of that too, but again, nothing on the scale of what we see with Trump.
I mean, to be fair, I get a little bit, I guess, defensive when people bash Obama. I mean, some of my friends, some of my Zoomer friends, and even some of my younger millennial friends, not because I discredit what they're saying, but because, again, I feel like that's kind of how we got to MAGA. Like, yeah, he wasn't perfect, but who said he was going to be perfect?
Right.
I mean,
right.
In a way, that's us practicing magical thinking. Like, there was never going to be this like left-wing utopia. It's and it really, there isn't supposed to be. I mean, in order for you and I to feel comfortable, or you to feel, I don't know, I'll go on a limb and guess like you're probably like center left. I'm maybe a little bit more left than that. But like, for us to feel safe as who we are and that we can coexist, other people have to coexist. I don't have a right to tell people that they can't believe certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, back in the day, I supported the ACLU's support of alt-right groups existing, as long as they didn't have violence. I mean, people can think what they want to think. I had no desire to control people's brains.
Right.
So, I don't know where I was going with that. I forget. But anyway, the point is like, I think there's this whole, and we'll explore that. I think that's going to be a good topic and someone in the near future. But, I think that sometimes it's okay to celebrate the wins and to say, we're doing a good job. Like, and maybe not raise the bar so high. Because, even as a gay man, like, I have friends that have bashed Clinton and said, and he went with like domestic partnerships and that sort of thing first. But I don't fault him.
Shows progress.
He timed it too. He had to time it. And I have had the fortunate experience of meeting him personally. And I have to say that, like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist on that. I think his heart was in it. I do think he believed in gay marriage, but I also think he didn't want, and even Obama was the same way. I think they didn't want to throw it out there and have it just completely crash and burn.
Right.
Because they've never given me any indication. I know some people say, oh, that's because they really didn't care about it. No, I think they did. I think they really did. But I think
so too.
I think because they really cared about it, they chose a slow and steady way of getting us there, as opposed to like, jamming it down people's throats, because it just doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't, whether you believe in what's being jammed down the throat or not, it doesn't work. You can't gag people with your values.
Right. Right. By the way, that's one thing I haven't heard Trump say much about. I don't think he'll try to upend. I know Clarence Thomas would like to, because he did say as much.
You know why? Money. Because gay people, whether, and some of it, it's not really this like wild conspiracy as to why it happens. I mean, in some respects, as a gay man, we benefited financially. This is going to sound, now this is definitely gonna be a radical thought, but I think many people in the Gen X crowd and even some of the older millennials would agree with me. We benefited from having to struggle and not having the other rights, because what we did is we said, wait a minute, in order to gain rights, we're going to have to build a strong financial backing, and we're going to have to get ourselves hyper educated. And then by default, we'll demand those rights. And so that's what we did. We bought our way into the house. We bought our tickets.
Yeah.
So when you buy your tickets, like Trump's a bully, and all his people are also bullies. I mean, like I said, Christine Noem's a puppy killer, for God's sakes. She can't train a dog without shooting it. So if you think these people are going to have the balls to confront people that really are going to give them a run for their money, no.
Right.
They know the gay community is mobilized. I mean, they're attacking us, but if you notice, they're attacking my community with the most marginalized, smallest percentage of the gay alphabet is possible. They're going after the trans, and that's because they're the lowest hanging fruit. They see them as the most exposed, and their hope was that we wouldn't step up to the plate and defend our people. But you know what? If you don't, people are judged by defending the most vulnerable in their population. And if we did that, then we would be no better than MAGA.
No, well said. Well said. Let's see. So we talked about what else is on that. What else do you have on that list for Trump's?
Well, we could go. It is Pride Month, so we could go their attack on trans. That's always interesting. Although I feel like that's kind of failing. That's a win for us, actually. The Supreme Court, don't quote me on this, but I'll paraphrase it. They literally said, stop bringing us these woke-driven, war on culture cases. We're not interested in hearing them anymore. Like, it's a waste of our time.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It is a waste of their time. They're basically saying, like, why are we talking about this, like, small, like, why are you asking us to make, like, national legislation based on this small portion of the population that PS isn't hurting anyone, isn't doing anything? I mean, even if I don't understand it, they're not a threat. What are they doing?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it would be like going after us and like starting a national attack on ladybugs. I mean, why? I mean, what is the point?
Right. Right.
I mean, I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, again, that kind of capitalizes on, attacking trans people, that, these ideas that, I mean, Trump got pretty crazy with it too, with the campaign.
Yeah.
He'd say things like, you send your kid to school and they come home a different gender, and
sure,
like that just happens.
I mean, unfortunately, they are making some traction. I just read recently that Texas, I think it got passed, was able to like form some legislation legislating that there are only two genders.
Yeah,
that's very unfortunate. Although, I don't know. Here's this is one of my more like, forceful views. Look, guys, if you're LGBTQ, get out of red states if you can. Get the hell out. Why are you forcing yourself to live in these like super oppressive areas? Now, I get it if economics prevent you from doing so, but if you have the means, like, you're not gaining anything from living in these places. And P.S., stop spending your hard-earned dollars in these places. I don't know. That's just my take. Stop financially supporting these crazies.
Yeah, well, good advice.
I mean, come where you're loved. We love you. Come here. Like let the blue states be your new Ellis Island. We'll take you in.
There you go. Very well said.
Anyway, yeah. So where are we at? I guess how are we on time, Matt?
We're okay. I mean, we should probably wrap up reasonably soon. We don't want these to be too long, because then people will tune out. But
you can probably edit out my diatribe that I was just filling space when you were frozen. Or at least
it was probably. I'm curious to. I didn't get to hear it because I was frozen, but I'm actually very curious to hear it. I'm sure it was good.
I was kind of talking about basically just some more bookkeeping notes, like, the fact that we were going to be working towards having an active chat and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I look forward to that. I look forward to having guests on and all of that. And we can, I don't know. I mean, do we want to preview any of the upcoming topics or what?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we should do that. So Matt and I were talking, and I think what we're going to do as far as the upcoming topics go is kind of take that whole 100 days and really do a deeper dive and dissect each thing. And also, let's face it, like, we're going to have curveballs thrown at us in all directions out of that MAGA pitching machine. And we're going to go ahead and catch those balls and talk about them in detail and in depth, and explore those topics with our guests and different information that's out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, like I was saying earlier too, when we talked, we'll never have a shortage of subjects.
Yeah. Whatever. Maybe we should add credit where credit's due. Thank you, MAGA, for giving us lots of things to bitch about.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Talk about silver linings, huh?
Absolutely. So I think, I don't know what you were talking about, like different topics. My sort of feelings on the subject. And I guess we can kind of, what Matt and I like to do is kind of keep a pulse on what the most current and the most now topics are in the week of news. And so I think that right now I'm leaning towards either Trump's attack on higher ed or certainly immigration. Both those topics deserve a much deeper dive.
Yes.
And then maybe another one to consider would be, what are Democrats, at least we can explore locally, going to do? Enough of this like blaming and hand wringing. Like, what's our plan of action? So that's going to be something ongoing, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which this is a topic I'm going to just kind of throw out there, and it's not a topic I know we'll be able to explore, but I'm hoping. This is my idealism inside me. If there are any real Republicans out there, old school Republicans, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear, so never MAGA, but Republicans. You know, I am interested on having you on our show at some point. I'd love to talk to you guys. I'd love to see what, and I promise I won't be too hard on you.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Matt?
Oh, I love that idea. I love it. I love it. And, you know, hey, never Trump Republicans are my favorite Republicans.
Yeah. I mean, I do have some converts. So we could definitely bring somebody on there. I've got someone in mind. He's also sort of launching a political photography career. So that's something to talk about. I've got a friend that does that. So he's definitely a good option. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, I do think that sometimes I scare away the like always Republicans, never Trumpers. You probably do a better job of not scaring them, but
maybe we shall see.
We shall see.
All right, very good. Well, I think we should wrap up on that note. My screen has gone dark again here.
Oh goodness.
But obviously we can still hear each other, so we know it's recording, so we're fine.
Yeah.
And so I will, but once again, I'll have to end the show by closing the computer. This only seems to happen on Sunday, but I think it's because I had things hooked up a little bit differently. So I'm going to work on that, make sure that doesn't keep happening. But I might have to just use a different browser on this computer that's a little more stable. But yeah, we'll figure it out though. But so we'll I guess we'll conclude with that. So thank you everyone for watching and or listening, and we'll see you next week here on Hanging Left. Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you very much.